Let's get our clapper. Welcome to Morning Minutes. My name is Michael Bergio, and I've got my co-host Mark.
And my name is Mark Novak.
Your name is Mark Novak, principal of Novak
Properties at Northern Beaches of Sydney.
The one and only. And this morning we're going to be talking about the tide changing, how quickly it's gone from a seller's market where in the last 12 months we've seen, I think, a 15% growth off the back of a 2-year decline of 20% to now probably arguably could be a great time for buyers to buy property with what's all going on in the public at the moment. We don't really want to talk about the coronavirus in particular, but we do want to talk about when something like this happens, like a GFC, like a Royal Commission, like a depression.
We want to talk about opportunity.
Yeah, that's what we want to talk about. I think there's enough corona stuff out there. And we want to talk about what the savvy investors are looking to do right now that we've hit this peak, because now it's all about competition when you're looking to buy a property. And let's say there's 10 buyers in the marketplace looking to buy a property, because what's happening on the outside, probably 80%, 70% won't be buying. So you as a buyer have a lot less competition. Now is a perfect time, in our opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of our very, very successful landlords and property investors. Now, do you want to go into a bit more detail of why, Mark? Why do they think now's good?
Look, firstly, our volumes this week was like, it's funny that we're monitoring the market as real estate agents on a weekly basis or a daily basis rather than a quarterly basis that we used to. But if we are going to monitor it that way, because that's the metric that everyone seems to be using at the moment, I think that, I know that our volumes are the same. So there's just there's with open houses and stuff like that, with calls and inquiries, there's less. But with volumes of sales, they're the same. So this week we did just as many trades as the week before and just as many trades as the week before. The clearance rate today is going to be interesting. But guys, I think this is, if you're fortunate to be able to make this decision, if you are in a position to be able to make this move, I think I'm just saying to people, it's a 30-year move that you're making at an interest rate of 2.5 to 2.7%. If you can afford to buy, and you can afford to see the next 6 months through, it's very definitive. It's very finite. This is different to a GFC where we had no end in the horizon and we were not sure of how long it was going to last for. And with a GFC, we did not even know why it happened. So for me to turn around and say to people, guys, I reckon you should get into property, I couldn't say that in a GFC because I didn't know how long it was going to go on for or how deep it was going to cut. Now here,
it's going to get worse and worse. And very good point. Very good point. Where we know what's happened there, and there's really good paths of how long it will take. And it's not just happening in Australia. So we can really look at how other countries are handling it. Sometimes
we are not alone. We are not alone.
Which means we've got great evidence to see what's happening. There's some countries ahead of us in the timeline, so they're already on the decline. So you can get some really good data to be rest assured of what the whack is, sort of thing.
And it's like being in a lift, Michael. And I liken it to property. The property is going to go from level 1 to level 30. Fact.
Yep.
Right? It's going to do it. Over time, that's what it does. Now, any advance that you can get in on the lift, it's going to give you any advance on the level above is going to be good. So whether you're traveling from level 3 to level 27 and you've made a really good run, or whether you're traveling from level 10 to level 15, it's all still good. My point is that by getting into the property, that over the next 10, 20, 30 years, there's going to be solid advances. The lift may go down 1 or 2 levels because of what we're going through, but you're still getting in for the long haul.
And I think as well, like if you just keep it simple in the mind, let's say there's 10 properties that are supposed in the area that sell a month, and if that drops down and the buyers level drop down. Now, when we come out of this, it could be in 2 months, 6 months, there is going to be a massive surge of activity and buyer competition for all those buyers that held off now. They come back into the market when everyone else is in the market. You're going to see a big growth. I know as an agent, there's lots of agents out there, especially who've been through these periods, where this is where the great ones will shine and will still be very transactional, because there are people who are sold in December, sold in January, sold in February, and we know that because the clearance rates were 80, 90, 100% during those months. So those people need to buy, have to buy, or they won't have a roof over their head. So that's where it's going to be a great time for sellers to do deals and those buyers. But if you wait and you come back in 3-6 months, for a property, let's say things were 700,000 in February, you may pick it up for 680 now or 700, because what we're finding in January, February, if it was 700, it was going for 750 because the competition was so high. So now you may pick it up for 700, but if you wait for the end of the year, you may be paying 770 because everyone's in the marketplace.
Do you want to hear something really exciting?
Yes, Mr. Novak, I would love to.
Any property. Now, first of all, I'm going to talk about investment property. Second, I'm going to talk about owner-occupied. Investment property. There is not an investment property that's owned in Australia that's not positively geared. Irrelevant to how much you borrowed and irrelevant to whether you bought it 6 months ago or 6 years ago. Yeah. Every single Australian property is positively geared.
And that's because the rates are so low?
Because the rates are so low. Now, one would say, oh, okay, but are you going to be able to tenant the properties? People have got to live somewhere, guys.
People have got to live somewhere. And also, you're playing the long game. If it doesn't rent, like for the opportunity to buy a property now, even if it is empty for a couple extra more weeks, you've still got the asset. There's good times and bad times. Like summer, you may get a couple more dollars a week for rent compared to winter and periods like this as well. But guys, like people still need a roof over their head. The virus, if anything, it's putting more attention on people being in their homes. So I think that's you know,
it's pushing people into their homes more than ever. And I think the residual of coming out of this in time will be what's essential. And I think I've personally learned what's important to me and my family and our families and everyone around us. Essentials changed. What's essential has changed for everyone in Australia. And I think property will fall under the essential banner more than ever.
You know what I'd be advising a lot of landlords and people who have own property to do now is get a valuation on your property now, immediately, and see where that level is. Because if the market does pull back in a bit, you may have this equity to use. You know, like in hindsight, so I think it's great off the back of a very strong December, January, February, where there's some big settled sales, get a valuation on your property, see where that lies, and see if you can then buy a property as well. So I reckon getting a vow would be a really good step, and then read it and look at see what finances you have activated to you.
Now, as an owner occupier in property at the moment, I'm going to talk about jobs in a second because I think a lot of people it's on a lot of people's mind. How's everyone going? Any questions?
No, not at the moment. Pretty quiet. So guys, tune in if you have any questions. It hasn't really updated. It's just saying Mark's live, so I may go in and out and just see, but yeah, all good.
So while you're doing that, guys, one thing you also have to consider is if you're buying a property for $500,000, your mortgage repayments are going to be sitting at about $300 a week. So I think that with mortgage repayments, they are lower than renting a property.
Yeah, 500,000 at 2.5 is 12,500 a year. What's that divided by 52? Is $240 a week. It's crazy.
Put a bit of principal on top of that, and you're probably sitting at about 300.
Yeah.
So there's not a property in Australia that's not positively geared. We haven't seen vacancies spike in our rental services. So we're one of the biggest rental agents in Sydney. So we're managing 1,500 apartments and houses, and we're seeing vacancies and commercial as well. Sorry, Michael. And vacancies haven't spiked, certainly for residential.
So you got, okay, now with this, how would you advise clients or buyers to get in the market? So I think a strong one would be prior to going private inspection for one, maybe, instead of an open home where there could be a lot of people, but I think there won't be because a lot of people will be sitting on the sidelines. So I think private appointments are a good way to view a property now, relying on an agent to have a lot of digital marketing material, 3D videos, walkthroughs.
Don't be a sheep.
Yeah, basically, Mark, you can do almost everything digitally. You can view the property, have a very thorough walkthrough digitally. You can send the contract to your lawyer or conveyancer digitally without seeing anyone. You can actually sign the contract digitally. So when I hear people stopping going to a restaurant or stopping getting a trade done because they're afraid to be in contact with people, you can actually buy a property basically without seeing anyone or touching anyone. So let's get that straight. You can do those steps.
So 2020, as a result of coronavirus, a virtual purchase is not silly.
Yeah, 100%.
So you can virtually you can inspect it, virtually you can sign it, virtually you can pay for it, virtually you can get a broker to fund it. We are now at the point, you know what, necessity is the mother of invention. And I think there's that necessity for it now that you don't feel silly about buying something for $500,000 virtually.
Yeah, and I think, and as a vendor out there, an owner or a landlord, you need to be picking your agent on who's got their finger on the pulse of this digital marketing world. Like, for example, we made the shift, I think 2 years ago, that a tenant can sign a lease, pay a deposit without viewing the property. We realized a lot of tenants are working, they don't have flexible hours, so they can't always get to a property. They can almost never get there on a Wednesday. And a Saturday, they're running around trying to see 10, 15 properties. So as a company, we aligned ourselves to allow people to basically do the deal without going through the property. And we've done that for sales. We've done that for commercial. So as an owner out there looking to rent their property or sell their property, you need to know that agent can offer this service. Otherwise, you're boxing yourself into not getting a result. So I think that is vital that they've got and especially having a strong social media presence, because what's going on at the moment, you may feel a bit reluctant to go to the market and spend $5,000 on realestate.com and the portals, but you still want buyers to go through, because as I said, there are a lot of hot buyers who have sold. January, February and December were huge selling months. So there is a pool of buyers that, not that they want to buy, they have to buy. So you need a way to get to them at low cost, but very, very effective. And that will happen through social media marketing platforms. And once again, not to beat our own chest, but if we don't, no one will. We've been doing this, especially Lisa Novak, for the last 2 years. We've already seen a shift in half our transactions are done by social media platforms, compared to a lot of agents who may have done one or two, and now they're thrown in the deep end that it goes, now basically it's like all your properties have to be sold off the platforms, and they're going to be a bit sad and they're going, what do I do now? We're already
Lisa calls it an open home from the couch.
Yeah.
So an open home from your couch, view from your couch. It's awesome. What's our headline today?
The tide rolls in and the tide rolls out. The world keeps spinning. Could this be a perfect time to buy? What's essential to you and your family?
So, guys, just the takeouts from today's conversation is what the property market is proving to be essential. Housing is proving to be essential for people, especially when you've got self-isolation. People are investing in their homes more than ever. I spoke to the furniture guy down the road, and people are spending a lot of money on getting their home office environment better. So home's very important. The tide will go out and the tide will come back in. Yep. This is different to a GFC. It's finite. So a GFC, we didn't know how deep it was going to cut, and the GFC, we didn't know how long it was going to go for. And I'm talking years. We know this is months, and we know there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we've got a barometer of how deep it cuts from other countries that are currently going through it as well before us, thank God. So we're learning the lessons from them. So if you can take advantage of and be opportunistic, if you're fortunate enough to be able to do that, i.e. got a job, and you can fix your interest rates or whatever you like, interest rates are low, it's a good time. Anything else?
No, that's it. I know Facebook's been playing up. It's been going in and out. So hopefully this all was recorded. But
looks solid and live on my end.
Not on my phone or here. It goes, yeah. Anyway, let's hope everyone got it. Any questions, hit us up and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy your families.
And happy birthday to my dad. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Yeah. I don't know. Is that bad? Maybe. Hang on, let me have a look.
Just guess. Just so, that's, he's 57 today.
Yeah, he's a young man. I think he's like 45.
Hey, he looks 45.
Yeah, he's a good man. He's a good man. So, happy birthday to Dad, and we'll be home for lunch and dinner for a birthday. And we'll have a dinner. Awesome. So,
take care. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.